Hi Chem Kids, Miss Venable here, bringing you a video tutorial for the Salt Stations lab. And I'm going to do an exemplar for you guys with milk of magnesia. The chemical formula for that is Mg parentheses OH close parentheses 2. So we're going to start with the chemical name of this substance, and I'm going to show you how to arrive at that chemical formula. So stay tuned. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write down the given name of the salt that's at my station, and I just copy that off of the bottle. So milk of magnesia is the common name. It's a good substance to help settle your tummy if you're upset. But the chemical name for it is magnesium hydroxide. So I just copied that right off of the station. And then what we're going to do is we're going to break that into the cation and the anion. So the cation is always written first. So I'm just going to write the name of the cation, magnesium, and the name of the anion, which is hydroxide. Okay, so I just broke that into two parts. And our ionic compounds are always composed of one or more cations and one or more anions. So it doesn't matter how many, you just name it the same. Okay, so then what we have to figure out is the formulas for those. So looking on my periodic table, magnesium is Mg. Okay, it is in group 2 of the periodic table, which means it has 2 valence electrons. And like all metals, when it forms a cation, it's going to give them away, and that makes it a positive ion. So if it gives away 2 valence electrons, it'll be a 2+ charge ion. So when you give the cation formula, don't forget the charge, and it's always positive. Okay, now the anion, this is a little tricky because it might be an anion on page 7. Those are polyatomic, or it could just be an anion off of the periodic table. Those are monatomic. But this one, hydroxide, is on page 7. Okay, just on your reference sheet, page 7. And it automatically gives you the chemical formula, OH. So first I always look on my page 7 and see if it's a polyatomic ion, then I just get to copy the name. If it's not on page 7, then it's just a regular monatomic ion like oxygen or sulfur or phosphorus, and those always end in "ide." Okay, so I just wrote the charge there. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the steps to crisscross. So the steps are write the cation, hush please, write the anion, cancel the positive, cancel the negative because salts are always neutral, cross the 1 and the 2. So the 2 becomes the subscript for hydroxide, and that tells me I have 2 ions of hydroxide. Now since you have multiple ions and they're polyatomic, you have to put the hydroxide inside parentheses and the 2 on the outside. Okay, the 1 crosses down for the magnesium, so it's going to take 1 ion of magnesium and 2 ions of hydroxide. Now you cannot reduce a 1-to-2 ratio. There's no number besides 1 that goes into both of those, so it can't be reduced. If you could reduce it, like if it was 4 and 2, then you would reduce it. You would divide 2 into both of those. So you always reduce your ion ratio as low as it'll go. Okay, I do not need to write this 1. 1s are understood. So my final chemical formula, Mg parentheses OH close parentheses 2. All right, let's try another one. This is copper Roman numeral 2 bromide, and the reason it has a Roman numeral there is because copper is a transition metal which have variable oxidation states. So they're telling me how many valence electrons this copper has, and the Roman numeral 2 will mean the charge will be a 2+. So let's write the name that they gave us directly, copper Roman numeral 2 bromide. Okay, and then I'm going to write the name of each ion. So copper Roman numeral 2 is going to be the cation Cu for copper and 2+ for the charge. And bromide is just a monatomic ion. If it ends in "ide," a lot of times it'll be on the periodic table. So like bromine becomes bromide, oxygen becomes oxide, sulfur becomes sulfide, right? When the monatomic ions form, they all end in "ide." So Br is bromine, and it's in it's in group 17. So it's going to have 7 valence electrons, which means it's going to gain 1 more. So the charge will be a 1-. Okay, now down here we're going to write the chemical formula. So we're going to write Cu2+, Br1-, cancel the positive, cancel the negative, 1 copper, 2 bromine. So now I know how many ions. So I write the chemical formula. I don't need to write the 1, it's understood, but I have to write the 2. So the chemical formula is CuBr2. And by the way, since there's only 2 elements in this, copper and bromine, this is called a binary ionic compound. We'll learn a little bit more about that later. And this one, since it's got 3 things, it's got this polyatomic ion that has oxygen, hydrogen.
At this time, bus riders are dismissed.
And it's got magnesium and so this has 3 different, it's called a ternary ionic. We'll learn a little bit more about that later. All right, this has been Miss Venable. Thanks for joining me. Enjoy your salt stations. Now, the 8 that I gave you on your assignment are not these. Okay, so you have to start over with number 1 and number 2. Thanks so much. Bye.